Okay, Ewoks, I'm going to try and walk you through how I do a reset for my Lofty Tech. So you'll see here I'm at 119 points at the bottom currently. And I'm going to try and reset some at the top and some at the bottom. Now the question is, which tech am I going to choose? If you look at my timing, I've got 72 days on my tech at the top. Now, you don't want to look at the collective reset time, which is at 45. You want to focus on this number, which is before any additional time declination has occurred, because I have these techs right now, which is reducing some of the Lofty reset. So that's creating a false perception if you just look at the number at the top. So I've got these at 72 days right now, and that's really everything that I've got at the top of the list. What you're going to want to reset with is going to be dependent upon how many spec points you have. So this is the table. I'm at 112 points. So at 112 points, I fit into this category. I have at least 90, but not 125. So I need to be at 75 days or less. After this reset, I should be able to get to 125, which means my future resets will be at 80 days. But if you're only at 70, 75, 80, you're going to be looking for this number. You want to get the 70 days on your reset, your targeted resets or less. So my normal strategy is to make sure I'm resetting as much as I can, but not spend an excessive amount of war badges to do it. So what I'll usually do is all of the text at the top of the tree here above the Lofty unlocks. So these Lofty unlocks are really expensive for war badges, so I don't like to reset them, and you only get one level, so it doesn't give you a lot of return for that investment. But everything above that has 10 levels on it. And generally anything that has 10 levels or less, you can reset, and it's not very expensive from a war badge perspective. So you'll see I'll do all of these above. And they're all going to have the same amount of time left at 72 days because I do all my resets at the same time. It's one big push. Additionally, if you've planned it properly, you can go down to the bottom of the trees and you can reset these Lofty training skills. I don't go above 10 on them because they don't really give you a lot of value, and I'm nowhere near my cap for total Lofty troops, so I don't need this to be any higher than 10. But because I left these at 10, I can reset them every time, and it gives me 30 extra points, which is 1.5 points on my total spec down here at the bottom. So I do that for my calves, for my archers, and for my footmen. So that's 3 different sets of 10, which is a total of 90 tech levels, which right now, when you get to my level, it takes 20 tech levels to get a Lofty point. So 90 divided by the 20 is 4.5 total points on my Lofty reset. So in addition to everything that I'm doing at the top here, I'll get 4.5 Lofty spec points every time I do a reset. I don't reset anything else because I need these while I'm fighting, and they would be too expensive to reset every time anyway. If you're a super big spender and you just buy a ton of war badges, I'm sure you're going to reset these anyway. But this is the most cost efficient and effective way to manage your Lofty resets if you're only really doing Alliance Cup. From a timing standpoint, I generally try and maximize my reset to get as many hourlies as I can. So I'm going to do this late on a Saturday, grab a couple of hourlies on Saturday. I'm choosing my free day on Sunday as tech. I'll do as many hourlies as I can on that day, and then I'll wait until tech on Tuesday evening, Wednesday in the States, to do the balance of my reset. So at this stage, I just need to go in and actually reset all my Lofty before I configure myself for recompleting the tech. So I'll start with the reset. You notice I have 146,000 Lofty war badges. This reset will not require that many, and you'll see why here in a moment. But I can generally complete this reset in about 60,000 war badges. So we'll start there. And then at the top here, all of these resets give you up to 84 hours. So when you add them all up, that's how you're reducing all of this time. So we're going to start with this one. Do that one. That one. This one. And then I can't access this one because I have to be at level 125. And that's why you need less time to do the Lofty resets when you get to higher levels, is because when you get to level 70, you unlock this one. When you get to level 90, you unlock this one. When you get to level 125, you unlock this one. The further down you go, the more you can do, the more time you can reset. So the quicker you can turn these. So now that I've got all these at the top here, I'm then going to select the resets on the right side. This is the Footman branch, but each of these is going to reduce time as well. So now I've captured all of the time reductions. So when I go back to my Lofty tech, these should be at zeros, and they are. I can now reset them. The timer is gone, which means I can reset any of them that I wish. And so if you go down, you'll see every one of these, because they were all under that 75-day mark that I'd mentioned, can be reset. See, the timer's gone. So I'm going to do it all at once here, which is going to make me really weak. My castle is going to be very weak for the 3 days that I've got this reset active. But I'm in a point in the season. There's a truce called already. We don't have a hero duel coming up until next Wednesday evening. And I generally am not planning to be doing any kind of fighting. So I've chosen a time where this reduction in power has basically no impact on my activity. Take them all to 0, hit the reset button. Okay, and that's it. So that's a little grindy, but it's done. Again, I won't reset these because they're so high level at 20. Anything over 10 just gets too expensive for war badges, so I don't do those. So I reset all the tech that I need to reset now. So now I'm going to respec again to put myself in a position to make it as cheap as possible to actually recomplete this tech. So I reset again. And now I'm going to go down the left side of this arm because it's going to reduce the technology training speed time. Some of these techs take a long time to complete, but if you maximize all these time reductions, it reduces the amount of gems you're going to end up needing to use. Now this is a trick that it's really not a trick. It's really the way you should be doing it. But a lot of people don't realize that you need to be doing it this way. But some of these techs up here on these kind of quartiles of the arms actually reduce the amount of war badges you use when researching these techs. The one up here at the top between the all-purpose buffs and the archer buffs, this one reduces the amount of war badges by a percentage, which is really good when you're doing some of the deeper techs on the tree and you're up at around level 17 or 18 and it requires a lot of war badges to complete. This 5% has a big impact. But when you're doing the lofty reset here, a lot of these techs at the top don't require a lot of badges. So you see this is 90 badges to complete this first level. And as it goes on and on, it gets up to about well, that didn't work. Yep. It gets up to about 930 on level 10. So see it climbs from 90, 135, 185, 230, 275. This table is in our tech guide section of the Discord. But it gives you some perspective of the unaltered badge requirement for each of these techs. But we're going to make those go to zeros and make this free, effectively from a war badge perspective, because we're going to use this tech right here. And this one reduces by 250 war badges for each level, which means we're going to be able to do the first 8 on each one of these techs for absolutely no war badges. So to get to this, I've got to do some of the techs on this side, on this lower branch, to be able to access this one. And so now you'll notice when I look at these techs, it's reduced the requirement by 90 here. And if I remove, it shows 0. So I'm going to be able to complete this first level of the tech without spending any war badges. And because I've got the time reduction, it's also going to require no time. So I'm literally going to be able to finish this tech level without any time or any badges. As you go deeper down, closer to the 10, you do end up spending some time and some badges, but it's not much. So you can complete the top section of this tech very cheaply. Notice I'm 3 levels down and I'm still doing these. I'm not spending more badges and I have no tech, or I have no time that I'm spending gems on. It's not until the 4th or 5th level, yeah, after the 5th level requires me to actually spend 25 badges, but it's still free. On level 6, going to level 7 now, I'm up to 215 war badges, but I'm still free. And on down the road. So I'm not going to complete any more of these because I'm going to wait for an hourly. I just missed the hourly I was working on by a few minutes. But that's how I'll do this. I'll do it over the course of the next 3 days. And that should complete my lofty spec. And it's going to get me above the 125 level. 125 is important because it unlocks this last skill here. Which at the top, which is going to give me an additional 5% chance of immunity from these effects, but it's also going to give me enough spec points to be able to complete my 3rd arm of the spec tree, which boosts the effects of your tech by 10%, which has a pretty meaningful effect on your might and your HP and your resistance. So it's a pretty big level to get to. 90 is probably the most important one because it increases the percentage chance of your skills by up to 5%, which in battle is a pretty significant impact. So that's it. Push to 70, 90. Those are the 2 most critical levels. Once you get to 90, you're in a pretty good place from a strength standpoint. 125 is a really great place to be. I'm going to be pretty excited to be finished with this tech and have a 3rd arm of my lofty branch completed. Hopefully that helps, guys. And I know this is a long video, but a lot of people get lost in lofty resets and or just aren't doing them very efficiently. So hopefully this helps makes you guys stronger.